In the inception, the introduction carries this statement that the humans have this inborn tendency to be influenced more by the character and personality of the individual than the content of their message. That is why biographies of the prominent and significant personalities have always held a significant place in the historical literature. Notably, the divine guidance of humanity was more often facilitated through sending the prophets than through revelation of sacred scriptures. So this underscores the transformative power of notable personalities, which can have a more lasting impact on the behavior and character of individuals than only mere written words. Here we should understand that the Sīrah of the Prophet ﷺ transcends the confines of mere biography. That is to say that the Sīrah of the Prophet is not merely a chronological life history of a single person. Rather, it's the history of a complete civilization that has conquered the lands, the hearts and minds of the entire medieval era. The prophetic character has been described as Uswatul Hasana, that is the quintessential model, which the word Uswa explicitly covers every aspect of human life. So the Sīrah of the Prophet not only enriches learners with divine prophetic thought, rather it provides an inclusive, comprehensive, all-embracing, perfect and timeless role model for all classes of human society and for all times to come. Since we claim that the Sīrah of the Prophet ﷺ is the only role model, so this demand and this claim demands that the historicity of the prophetic Sīrah should be an established fact, and undoubtedly it is an established fact, not only being discussed by the Muslim scholars but by the non-Muslim, including the Orientalists as well. For example, this statement has been discussed by Allama Shibli in his famous Muqaddimah of Sīrah al-Nabi. For example, P.K. Hitti is a Lebanese Christian scholar and expert on Semitic history. He says that Muhammad is the only one of the world prophets to be born within the full light of history. Another Orientalist is D.S. Marble. He is very well known, famous for his bigoted views about the Prophet ﷺ. Still, he, in the introduction, in the inception of his book, famous book Muhammad, he says the biographers of the Prophet Muhammad form a long series which is impossible to end, but in which it would be honorable to find a place. We believe that Quran is the last word and the last guidance from Almighty Allah. And the prophetic Sīrah is also an essential source of understanding the Quran as well. Because there are innumerable Quranic ayat and surahs whose true meaning cannot be comprehended unless and until related aspects of the prophetic Sīrah are not explored. Hazrat Aisha emphasized its extraordinary significance by describing the Prophet as the living model example of the Quran. The significance of studying the Sīrah is further highlighted by the fact that the chapters of the Quran have been divided into two distinct periods of the prophetic life, that is Makkah and Medina. Dr. Hamidullah says that racism and economic imbalances were the two causes behind conflicts in pre-Islamic Arabia. The Sīrah reveals how Prophet ﷺ eliminated these problems within the society and resolved them with minimum resources in a short period of time through different moves like mu'akhad. So, for example, another scholar is Dr. Mahmoud Ahmad Ghazi. He says that today the call for universality is being proclaimed on every front, on global front. He says that it's in vain unless and until principles like justice, peace, equality, equal access to knowledge are not implemented. The Sīrah of the Prophet ﷺ demonstrated how Prophet implemented these principles. For example, every individual, regardless of his age, color, creed, caste, ethnicity, religion, he enjoyed equal justice and equality in everything. Even the Prophet, God forbid, even the Prophet's own daughter had committed theft. Her hands too would have been cut off. Prophet established a peaceful environment in Medina, so much so that a woman could fearlessly travel from Yemen to Medina without any fear. Acquiring knowledge was not only permitted but was made obligatory on every Muslim. So, understanding how to apply this divine guidance, we need to understand the Sīrah and we need to represent the prophetic role model before the world in the best possible manner. To conclude with, modern civilization struggles different problems such as moral crisis, social inequalities, economic imbalances and others. On the Sīrah of the Prophet provides us practical and timeless model for establishing peaceful, just and harmonious society. So the scientific study of the Sīrah help us bridge the gap between divine knowledge and between modern challenges. Such prophetic initiatives can be incorporated into religious education to foster a holistic learning experience and to make compatibility between faith and reason. That is very key issue for establishing and solving moral and intellectual problem in the contemporary religious education. Thank you so much.